I've played hundreds of Quest games and a shocking number of the best ones are actually better sitting down. Today I'm going over more than 30 Quest 3 VR games that you can comfortably play seated. Whether you just want to chill or simply don't have enough space, these are perfect examples of how immersive and fun VR can be even while sitting down. By the way, you can get 20% off any of these games using code VRM on the Meta Store. This discount is available until January 1st, 2026, but you'll still get 10% off anytime after that. Kicking off with Underdogs, this gritty physics-driven roguelite arena combat game was basically made for playing sitting down. The game throws you into the grim underground mech fighting pits of a dystopian future, where two brothers fight their way towards humanity's last city, New Bracca. You pilot a gorilla-shaped mech, mirroring your arm movements with extremely satisfying responsiveness, and smash through waves of mechanized enemies with bone-crunching metal-on-metal impact that feels as visceral as it sounds. Underdogs also mixes in strategic choices with upgrades, perks, and randomized events that keep each run fresh and exciting. This is one of those games that I consider a must-have for anyone who owns a VR headset. Next up, I'm bundling in both Demeo Battles and Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons Battle Mart, because they both spring from the same beloved turn-based tabletop RPG roots. And of course, both are excellent seated games, both in the VR and mixed reality modes. Demeo Battles reimagines the original cooperative dungeon crawler into a fast, competitive PvP experience where teams face off in strategic matchups. Meanwhile, Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons Battle Mart expands the classic Demeo formula into a full-fledged cooperative tactical RPG set in the iconic Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms. With story-driven campaigns, the same crisp visuals, new refined enemy spawns, and deeper strategy that feels both familiar and fresh. Then we have VRacer Hoverbike, a futuristic, high-octane VR racing game that's quickly become one of the most exciting racers on Quest 3. You hop onto a sleek hoverbike and rip through 30+ neon-lit tracks across varied futuristic landscapes, where leaning into turns feels intuitive and coming around the corner at full tilt really sells that sense of velocity. The game feels polished and natural, with combat races, time trials, survival challenges, and robust multiplayer, so it stays fresh. The next game is called Please Click the Like Button, and it's super simple, just find the like button and click it. Now, In Death Unchained is still to this day one of my favorite VR games ever, and it's actually great seated too, so I had to include it. It's an addictive roguelike adventure casting you into a haunting afterlife full of undead knights, templars, monks, and procedurally generated arenas where every run feels fresh and unpredictable. The core loop centers around bow and arrow combat that's incredibly satisfying. Movement is mostly done through a clever teleport arrow system that blends movement with offense into one intuitive mechanic. You're constantly pushed to improve because dying means starting over, but persistent achievements unlock new arrow types and harder foes, giving you reasons to dive back in again and again. Next, here's probably the most fitting sponsored segment in the history of YouTube. So let me tell you about the Libernovo Omni chair, the most comfortable and high-tech chair I've ever tried. I've been using the Omni chair not just for gaming, but also for long editing sessions where I'm basically sitting all day, and it's easily one of the best additions to my setup in years. The standout thing for me is the electric lumbar adjustment and how the entire backrest flexes and adapts to your body as you move, instead of forcing you into one rigid position. It constantly supports me even when I shift around, which I tend to do a lot. When I'm playing seated VR games or just watching movies, being able to adjust the tilt and lean back, then kick my feet up on the footrest makes a massive difference for longer sessions. And on days when my back is just done, the massage function has genuinely saved me. It's more of a controlled back stretch than a buzzy massage, and it actually helps relieve tension instead of just distracting you from it. It's one of those upgrades that quietly improves everything if you spend a lot of time at a desk or in VR, so go check it out at the link in the description, and let's move on to a seated game that to this day feels like some kind of sorcery on the Quest 3. Red Matter 2 is already a well-known title for its incredible graphics, but also a fantastic experience sitting down. If you're maybe new to VR, it's a sci-fi puzzle adventure that drops you into a mysterious retro-futuristic world shaped by intrigue and strange red matter anomalies, and keeps you moving through richly detailed environments where every control feels intuitive and every puzzle interaction is designed to feel naturally tactile. The visuals are especially impressive for standalone VR, pushing hardware boundaries with crisp textures, atmospheric lighting, and environments that truly sell the sense of place. And the world is packed with clever puzzles, light platforming, and occasional action movements that break up the flow in all the right ways. Whether you've never played Red Matter 2 or just want something to go back to while chilling on the couch, it's a great choice. Sticking to puzzle adventures and great graphics for a bit, the VR remake of Myst is a beautifully reimagined classic that takes the legendary exploration and logic-based problem-solving of the original Myst and places it directly around you in VR, turning its eerie island worlds and interconnected ages into immersive tactile environments you can physically walk through and interact with. Unlike action games, its magic comes from a slow, thoughtful discovery. You'll pore over mechanisms, pull levers, read books, and unravel mysteries at your own pace, with movement and comfort options that make it comfortable for long sessions and seated play. Just a quick reminder to use code VRM at checkout for any MetaQuest games or apps. Let's keep going. Our second mech fighter in this list is Iron Rebellion, and it takes a very different approach to Underdogs. You're in the cockpit of a towering war machine and will experience satisfying tactical multiplayer action where every switch, lever, and weapon system feels physically alive in your hands. The core of the experience is its fast-paced battles, where choosing your mech class and loadout matters, and the visceral sensation of piloting it sells the fantasy of being a battlefield ace. While the environments and single-player story content are lighter, the game shines in its intuitive controls, varied mech classes, and the sheer thrill of coordinated team combat, with ongoing updates adding new modes, maps, and improved AI that broaden what you can dive into. Next up, another VR classic that was made for playing sitting down. The I Expect You to Die series continues to be one of VR's most delightfully clever and immersive puzzle spy franchises, turning you into a charismatic secret agent who has to outthink danger using nothing but your wits, tools, and perfectly timed interactions. Each entry drops you into beautifully staged scenarios packed with rich detail and laugh-out-loud moments as you solder wires, pull levers, and improvise escapes that feel just clever enough to surprise you. The series shines with its playful writing, inventive puzzle design, and cinematic pacing, making every level feel like you're the star of your own Bond movie, only with far more humor and cheeky twists. I feel like this next one never quite got the attention it deserved. The Last Clockwinder is a charmingly inventive puzzle adventure that blends cozy exploration with clever, time-bending mechanics that feel perfectly at home in VR. You play as a curious clockmaker's apprentice navigating a whimsical world filled with winding puzzles and interconnected rooms that react in surprising ways. Solving one often reshapes the next, which makes every discovery feel fresh and rewarding. The game's aesthetic leans into warm, handcrafted visuals and detailed environments, while its core time manipulation mechanics give you a satisfying sense of control over each challenge without ever feeling frustrating or hard to understand. Now the highly anticipated sequel to an absolute banger. Did you actually click the like button earlier? It's made for anyone who forgot, so go ahead. When this one came out, I did not expect it to be as fun as it is. Max Mustard is a charming 3D VR platformer that feels like a love letter to classic platformers like Astro's Playroom while making great use of the immersive strengths of the Quest 3. You guide the adorable hero through around 40 colorful levels, filled with clever environmental puzzles, moving platforms, and coins to collect, as well as hidden critters to rescue, all wrapped in a bright and inviting art style that's one of the best ones on the system. The game blends familiar platforming mechanics like running, jumping, and using rocket boots, with delightful touches like occasional first-person gadget segments, where you help Max trigger switches or shoot targets, giving each world some variety and playful surprises. And trust me, the best seated games on this list aren't even the obvious ones. Waltz of the Wizard has quickly become a viral sensation online after adding voice interactions, and it's great both seated and standing, so definitely worth a try. Scully's ridiculous reactions to what you say and do are the biggest selling point here. The freedom to experiment by mixing potions, casting unpredictable spells, or simply watching physics-driven reactions unfold in charming environments. The sense of presence and play is the real star here. Everything feels tactile and responsive, and the game rewards creative experimentation with surprising interactions and humorous outcomes. There's plenty to play around with, and they keep updating it with even more stuff, so it had to be on this list. Switching gears from goofing around to serious simulations, VTOL VR is one of VR's most immersive and accessible flight simulators. Built from the ground up to put you inside a fully interactive fighter jet cockpit where every switch, button, and gauge responds to your real hand movements. The The game lets you use just your VR controllers to grab the stick, yank levers, flip toggles, and pilot advanced vertical takeoff and landing aircraft through combat missions, refueling operations, carrier takeoffs and landings, and more, giving a true pilot in the seat feeling that's rare in native Quest VR flight games. With the amount of marketing dollars Meta has put into this, I'm sure you've at least heard of Asgard's Wrath 2. But did you know it's actually fully playable sitting down? This is one of the most ambitious and expansive VR RPGs ever made, delivering a full-blown action-adventure epic that feels more like a traditional AAA game than most VR titles, complete with a deep story, sprawling world, and over 100 hours of gameplay. I'm not gonna spoil any of the story here, but this one's built specifically for Quest headsets, and the sheer scale makes it feel like a god-tier VR adventure that sets a new benchmark for what standalone VR experiences can achieve. Now here's one not even I expected would work as well seated as it does. Contractors Showdown and Exfil likely need no introduction. I'm personally more of a Showdown guy, but Exfil is clearly where the hype is right now. So if extraction shooters are your jam, then it'll be right up your alley. It of course uses the game's solid shooting foundation and goes way deeper than I can explain in this segment in the best way possible. That alone makes it a great pick for players who want more than just run and gun deathmatches in VR. And the fact that it can be played sitting down as well is the icing on the cake. But if you prefer a lighter seated experience, Among Us VR brings the wildly popular social deduction party game into fully 3D multiplayer action that fits naturally in VR, dropping you into the familiar world of crewmates and imposters, but now from a first-person perspective, where proximity voice chat and motion control tasks make meetings, sabotages, and accusations feel way more immersive and personal. The game keeps the core loop you know, so I won't waste your time explaining, but it enhances it with VR-friendly interactions, fun reimagined environments, and social tension that's heightened when you can look someone in the eye while calling a meeting. Here's another one I didn't expect to be able to play sitting down. Metro Awakening is a story-driven post-apocalyptic VR adventure shooter that brings the gritty, atmospheric world of the Metro franchise into virtual reality in an impressive package. It blends exploration, stealth, and tactical combat in ways that feel naturally brutal in VR. The game's first-person interactions, from equipping your gas mask to scavenging for ammo or sneaking through dark corridors, enhance the tension and make every decision feel meaningful, while the narrative's emotional core and eerie environmental storytelling keep you invested. It's one of those rare AAA VR games that's a must for any Quest owner. Ghost Town was one of the best surprises in recent years, and it's also great seated. It's a supernatural puzzle adventure experience from the makers of The Room VR: A Dark Matter that wraps an engaging narrative, atmospheric environments, and clever puzzle designs into a compelling solo journey. You play as a paranormal detective in 1980s Britain, hunting restless spirits and searching for your missing brother while exploring richly detailed locations like foggy lighthouses and eerie homes, where every clue and mechanism feels purposefully placed to draw you deeper into the mystery. The game blends environmental storytelling with intuitive interactions and varied puzzles that reward observation without ever feeling frustrating, all brought to life with strong voice acting, immersive audio, and visuals that push the Quest's hardware. You'll need to make sure you use a stable chair for this one. Silent Slayer: Vault of the Vampire is a clever take on puzzle games that puts a fresh twist on vampire hunting by locking you in a single room and challenging you to eliminate enemies through careful planning and timing. Each level unfolds like a miniature puzzle box, where vampires emerge from coffins in set patterns and you must observe their behavior, manipulate objects, and strike at just the right moment to succeed. The game emphasizes methodical thinking over reflexes, rewarding patience, pattern recognition, and extremely steady hands. But I was serious earlier, make sure the chair is solid because I don't want you hurting yourself because your hand twitched and the vampire woke up. Here's another bundle of 2 games and you can't go wrong with either one of them. Escaping Wonderland and Down the Rabbit Hole are 2 whimsical, puzzle-driven VR adventure experiences that take inspiration from Alice in Wonderland and turn it into something that feels unique and magical in virtual reality. The worlds unfold around you in detailed diorama-like environments filled with lovable characters, light narrative choices, and accessible puzzles that reward exploration and observation, making it both immersive and highly visual. Both games emphasize visual storytelling, tactile puzzle solving, and a delightful sense of exploration that works beautifully in VR, making them standout picks for anyone who loves immersive adventures and whimsical worlds that feel alive. This one isn't gonna wow anyone on graphics, but with over 22,000 positive reviews on the Metastore and a 4.9 star average, I promise it's worth trying. MotoX not only feels great, but also comes with full rider and bikes customization, over 20 tracks featuring multiple game modes, and even multiplayer races. It's dirt cheap, no pun intended, and the devs keep adding more content regularly, so I can really understand why it has the rating it does. Of course, you can do tricks including wheelies, supermans, and backflips, so it definitely requires a strong pair of VR legs to hold on to your dinner. But it's way more fun than the trailers would make you think, so I highly recommend this as a seated experience. From dirt bikes to cars, Downtown Club is a standalone VR racing game built from the ground up for Quest hardware that delivers a fun and engaging driving experience with full virtual controls. You grab the wheel, shifter, and handbrake with your hands and feel responsive driving feedback that really sells the sensation of being behind the wheel. I wouldn't consider this a full-fledged simulator, but the SimK driving style feels good and there's not much competition in this space. The roadmap includes even more content, but the intuitive controls and satisfying sense of speed make Downtown Club one of the most compelling VR racing experiences you can enjoy sitting down on Quest. Okay, if neither dirt bikes or cars are your jam, maybe VRider SBK's MotoGP lineup sounds more appealing. This is a high-octane motorcycle racing sim in VR that thrusts you onto fast, open courses with a strong sense of speed and responsive bike handling that feels surprisingly natural on Quest. Instead of traditional arcade racing, VRider SBK leans into a more simulation-oriented approach, where leaning into turns, managing throttle, and maintaining racing lines all contribute to a satisfying sense of mastery as you improve. It's the kind of experience that rewards repetition and finesse. And while its physics may appeal more to players who love precision bike racing, the overall package delivers an engaging and immersive ride that works very well for seated VR racing fun. Okay, last try. How about combining dirt bikes with cars and racing? EXOcars is a physics-driven off-road racing game in VR that focuses on raw driving feel, chunky suspension movement, and the thrill of tearing across rugged terrain at high speed. You pilot lightweight EXO-style vehicles across dirt tracks, hills, and jumps where weight transfer, traction, and momentum really matters, giving each race a grounded, tactile sense of control that rewards smooth driving and smart throttle management. With solid performance on Quest and a clear focus on driving fundamentals over flashy gimmicks, EXOcars delivers a satisfying, no-nonsense racing experience that's easy to jump into and fun to master. While this wasn't the pod racing dream I was hoping for, I still really enjoyed Star Wars Beyond Victory and I played all of it from my couch. The game is split into 3 single-player modes: a story-driven campaign that bounces between VR scenes and mixed reality pod racing, a second arcade racing mode with multiple tracks and online leaderboards, and a playset mode that lets you place, resize, and pose Star Wars models around your room like a digital toy box. Where it really shines is the Star Wars vibe. Strong character animation, voice work, and those you're in a real Star Wars moment VR sequences. While the mixed reality mode is all about that tactile, miniature holodeck feel rather than cockpit-style immersion. Old but gold, The Climb 2 is a seated, friendly virtual reality climbing adventure that builds on the original by expanding its climbing mechanics, introducing new biomes like city skyscrapers along classic mountain and canyon vistas, and offering routes that reward both strategy and speed. You physically reach, grab, and pull yourself up handholds using real arm motions, managing stamina and choosing paths that can include crumbling grips or longer leaps that feel thrilling and tactile in VR. The level design is varied with multiple difficulty paths per climb and visual variety that keeps each ascent engaging, while asynchronous leaderboards lets you chase your own best times or compete indirectly with others' ghost runs. I love it when developers get creative, and VR1 is a clever and original VR puzzle shooter that blends creative time loop mechanic with strategic action, putting you in the role of a plant-like hero fighting mechanized enemies and solving intricate spatial puzzles. The core twist is its clone and time loop system. You perform actions in a level, then spawn a clone that repeats those actions, letting you coordinate multiple versions of yourself to pass items, trigger switches, and outthink enemies in clever sequences that feel satisfying and brain-stretching in VR. VR1 stands out as a distinctive and engaging experience that's as much about strategy and planning as it is about action and movement. To keep things interesting, next up we have SimplePlanes VR. This VR flight simulation experience lets you take to the skies in a huge variety of aircraft created by the SimplePlanes community and made available for download, offering an enormous roster of planes, helicopters, boats, cars, and more to pilot from the comfort of your headset. The focus is purely on flying and exploring. You can grab virtual cockpit controls with your hands if the model supports it, or fly from a third-person camera view if it doesn't, giving both depth and accessibility on how you pilot each craft. It's engaging and relaxing in its own right, especially if you love the idea of flight, but without building a NASA-level PC for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Many times, simplicity just wins in VR. And Just Hoops is a VR basketball shooting experience that focuses on pure satisfying hoop action without the clutter of complicated rules or game modes. It drops you right onto the court where you can warm up your shooting form with intuitive controls that let you aim, arc, and release shots in ways that feel natural and rewarding. Whether you're knocking down free throws, launching deep threes, or finding your rhythm with catch-and-shoot motions. The game thrives on its clean, responsive shooting mechanics and visually crisp environments that put the shooting spotlight squarely on satisfying feel of swishing baskets. Also earning bonus points for pacing that keeps you engaged without overwhelming you with menus or distractions. Moving on to the next one, Ancient Dungeon is a roguelite dungeon crawler built specifically for VR that works incredibly well as a seated experience. It blends procedurally generated levels with tactile, physics-driven combat that makes every sword swing, throw, and block feel physical and deliberate. Its distinctive voxel art may look simple at first glance, and I'm usually not a big fan, but for some reason this got me good. The game shines in how naturally its movement, combat, and exploration translates into VR, creating an experience that's fast, immersive, and endlessly replayable. If you've been avoiding VR because standing feels like a workout, hopefully this proved you can get peak VR from a chair. If this helped, drop a like or hype. Seriously helps the channel. I'll catch you soon, guys. Cheers!